Okay, friends, for those of you who are listening out over Zoom, welcome to this second morning of the retreat. Before we get started in the meditation, I want to give a few more notes about the practice. So living with awareness, the first stage of living with awareness is, as I've already mentioned, learning how to remain grounded and centered in the body, because this body is really where we live. You might live in a house someplace, but that's just where you eat and sleep, do other things, entertain your friends, feed your dog, and so on. But really, you live within this body, mind, and nervous system. And that's where we experience the world. And that's where awareness lies, there within the body and nervous system. So you've already talked quite a lot about learning how to, trying to get centered and grounded using the breathing and the posture as an anchor to the present moment, and developing initially mindfulness and concentration. So mindfulness and concentration are the two main mental qualities or mental powers. They're actually called mental powers that we cultivate in the practice of meditation. Again, meditation means keeping the mind in the middle. In this case, the middle means the present moment. But even though we're in the present moment, our mind is always trying to dredge up thoughts of the past and the future and get distracted. So anyway, mindfulness, we've already talked about the mindfulness, is that alertness. It's alertness as well as being relaxed. A lot of people hear the word alert and they think it's like a, no. It's coming out of a very deep state of relaxation, that alertness, because that alertness is coming from the deeper life force and pure awareness. But anyway, it's something that's gradually, comes out. So anyway, the mindfulness basically is that alertness. And the concentration is keeping that alertness from getting too scattered. So actually in meditation practice, the first sort of stage, you might say, of what you could call a real or deeper meditation is the integration or balancing of mindfulness and concentration. And so again, mindfulness is the alertness of the present moment and being aware of what is occurring in the body and mind from moment to moment. But in the beginning, limiting that to like the breathing and other sensations that are coming and going, and developing the concentration. So the concentration is limiting that mindfulness to a certain frame or a certain field. In this case, keeping it contained within the breathing body. It's not necessarily fixing it on one point, which is the popular understanding, but on one particular area. So it doesn't go wandering out, to a lot of other things. So the breathing body is that area of concentration. And the alertness is aware of the things occurring within the breathing body. And the alertness, also when you practice concentration, the mind can become quite quiet. If you're trying to just limit your attention to one point, the mind can become too quiet. Or if you're able to, continuously follow the breathing, but not remaining alert to other sensations, then the mind can get too quiet and can kind of sink into a limbo. Or it can also go to become drowsy. So mindfulness, the alertness, keeps that concentration bright and keep it relaxed and focused. Whereas the mindfulness or the awareness is able to see the things occurring within that space. So, in this type of meditation, the body-based awareness meditation, this body is the field of the practice, of the concentration. So that's why ideally you can hold that outline of the body in the mind's eye. That is sort of the concentration. And then within that outline, the alertness is aware of the various sensations, like the breath going in and out, pains arising, other sensations. And so we're balancing that alertness. So if there's too much alertness and things happening, but not enough concentration, the mind can get kind of overwhelmed or more excited. So the concentration, the ability to keep the focus, steady, that acts as to temper down that alertness and keep it quiet. So it becomes like a polished mirror. If you look into a mirror, it just reflects naturally anything that happens to come across the mirror. It just reflects it without having to say, what is that? What is that? What is that? Things just appear and come and go through that. So ideally, that is the type of awareness that we're trying to cultivate. And of course, it takes time. But anyway, that's so the integrating both the mindfulness and the concentration. If you get too concentrated and not enough alertness, then the mind can, become go half asleep, or could just space out. And a lot of people, when you get concentrated, it's a pleasant feeling. You're no longer bothered by things going on around you, and maybe the pains don't bother you so much, not so many wandering thoughts. And so that produces what is called, pleasant sensations. And the mind can just sort of, wow, cool, kind of just hang out in that and kind of stagnate. So that's called a sinking state. The mind kind of just sinks into the object, but loses its awareness. And then once and of course, the main part of the beginning meditation is dealing with the hindrances. So until those three hindrances of drowsiness, reacting to pains, and getting lost in your thoughts, those are really the active part of meditation. The other things I just mentioned, balancing mindfulness and concentration, automatically occurs when the hindrances weaken and stop interfering with the natural brightness of the mind. So that's why those are still having a lot of those hindrances. Then you have to learn how to note them. The mindfulness again is like the watchdog that alerts. When you see that head drooping down and the spine slouching, that alertness, oh, sleepy, sleepy. And straighten back up. Just don't give in because it feels nice, but it doesn't go anywhere. So that's why the right effort is important. The effort to overcome, to apply the appropriate antidotes to overcome, especially that tiredness and sleepiness. And you also overcome the tiredness and sleepiness when you start to be able to notice more and more sensations that also pricks up the mind, that alerts the mind when you're noticing many different little sensations coming and going. So this comes to the second point, is the flow of impermanence. So the first stage of meditation is first to get grounded and centered in the body, balancing mindfulness and concentration, not too excited and not too calm and sleepy, but finding that balance. And you'll know it when it happens, because it's quite dramatic. So, but then not to get satisfied with that. And then you use that to, first we're using that focus mostly on the breathing. But then as you gain that calmness and centeredness, then you'll naturally start feeling sensations going on around and through the breathing. It's like looking in a mirror. And so you have a big mirror in your room. And let's say you focus into the middle of it, but you don't really focus your mind on any one thing. You relax your eyes and you're kind of just looking into the center of the mirror, and you have this terrific, you can see the periphery. If something is moving over in this corner of the mirror, you may not exactly know what it is, but you know there's something there. So you can kind of, you're aware of that. There's something over there, you can see that. So when the mind is relaxed and opens, it can be aware of a lot of things actually going on almost simultaneously. And that's when we're really talking about awareness, a more developed awareness. But anyway, you tune into the flow of impermanence. And also the understanding about living with awareness is that, what this body is made up of. So we think it's a solid body, but in reality, this body is just billions of cells, molecules, and atoms. And atoms are just made up of electrons. And electrons are just electricity. That's why they call it an electron. And so basically, taking that in consideration, this body is just compressed energy. And when you're meditating and you start to feel so many different sensations, this is what the kind of what's called the wisdom aspect, or the understanding of what this body is. And it's just a mass of so many cells, atoms, molecules, and they're all vibrating. And it's that life force, the breathing, that charges up those cells with oxygenated blood and life force, the electrical energy that is brought in with the breathing. And so just cultivating this idea of just the vibrations and just feeling all these different energy vibrations. But without calling it, oh, that's my hand, that's my foot, that's my eye, that's my stomach. Whenever you start identifying, parts of the body with perceptions, then you're going to start worrying about that part. Oh, what's that thing in my stomach? Oh, you get carried away into thoughts. So that's why the training in this is introducing also the aspect of wisdom or right understanding. So there's three parts of the meditation practice: the mindfulness, the concentration, and the wisdom. So we talked about the mindfulness and concentration, balancing those. And when mindfulness and concentration are balanced, then that wisdom arises, that wisdom that can see things more clearly. And especially this idea about everything is just vibrations, or the four elements. You've heard about the four elements, right? And a lot of people get them confused and don't even know what they are, but actually they're basically just the vibrations. So that's part of the intellectual understanding that we bring to bear as we are feeling. It's knowing what you're feeling. And then being aware of the pleasant and painful aspects of those sensations, how they're pulling at your mind, and especially the painful ones, to observe them and try to not react to them, learn how to relax around them and endure them, and also know that those are also just energy vibrations. So this is the gradual development of the meditation. So many people, you know, they've come and they told me, oh, they're meditating 20 years. I go, oh, that's very good. What have you been doing? Oh, watching the breath. And they say, you know, yeah, I've been watching the breath. Well, you know, what's next? So a lot of people don't know what's next. So this is the what's next. Instead of getting caught and trapped in what I call the trap of tranquility, you have to double down and then use this investigative sort of analysis, which gets the mind really interested. So anyway, that's part of you know, the living with awareness, is understanding how this body and mind ticks, you know, how it's operating from moment to moment, and what's affecting it from moment to moment. So that's why even part of it, when you're well focused, you know, and you're feeling the breath and understanding that, yeah, all these cells of the body, this body lives by the, you know, the oxygen that's brought in with each breath, and the carbon dioxide and other blood impurities that are expelled on the out breath. And then the heart beating, that's, you know, pumping that fresh oxygen and charged, you know, blood out to the whole body. So that makes it interesting, rather than just in, out, you know. So that happens to a lot of people. So this type of second stage of investigative analysis helps to, again, keep the mind on a track of going sort of deeper inwards. So anyway, the flow of impermanence, you know, is first noticing that the different sensations that are coming up and going, or what I call arising and vanishing. So we're training on, first you feel the in-breath arise and vanish. That means the in-breath starts, lasts a second or two, and stops. That's called arising and vanishing. We're just starting and stopping. And then the out-breath begins, lasts a moment or two, stops. And the next in-breath begins, lasts a moment or two, stops. So that's initial training on learning how to, that pricks up the mind and makes it alert. And then as that's going on, in between those, or even while you're feeling the breath coming in, at the same time on the periphery, you notice a little something over here, you notice something, a little prick down there, or body movement, and that's the flow of impermanence. And start being aware of how quickly different things are coming and going. And then even sounds, as you're feeling body sensations coming and going, you know, you probably hear different sounds, even if it's the sound of my voice. It's a sound vibration going in one ear, out the other. But then you try to think about it. And then the mind gets carried away in the thoughts. That's why we train ourselves just to be aware of it. It's just hearing, just sound vibration. And then even thoughts. Thoughts are just mental vibrations. Or little mental images that come out. Those are perceptions. Like when you hear a sound, how many people, when they heard a sound, even though their eyes are closed, they have an idea what the sound is? It just pops into their mind. Only one person. So those are perceptions, and that's a mental phenomenon. So we, and that also just arises and vanishes very quickly. Unless you cling on to it, and then you get carried into thought about it. So when we train ourselves to just, notice and let go of the different phenomena, because there's always something occurring. So the more things you can notice, the less time for your mind to get bored, and also it makes the mind more bright and awake. So anyway, want to continue, cultivating that, integrating that, balancing the mindfulness and concentration. So we're going to go ahead and start now the meditation. We just take up a meditation posture. First of all, it's the line, the back, the spine, and the back of the head in a straight line. You feel the natural inward curve of the lower spine. You lift the chin up so it's level or parallel to the floor. And try to find the center of gravity. The center of gravity is kind of an imagined line from the top of the head down through the spinal column, down to the base of the spine. And to find that center of gravity, slightly move the whole head and backwards a little bit until you feel like you're coming to the tipping point where you might go backwards. And just come off of that just a half an inch or so. Try to maintain that, feel what that straight posture is. And take a mental photograph of it. It goes into the memory bank like you do on Google. You can come back to that straight posture when you lose it. Just rest the attention behind the eyes. Just feel the eyes and the sockets. Try to feel the subtle eye movement, the eyelids flickering. And just try to mentally feel the outline of the sitting posture. And just spend a minute kind of turning on the webcam. Start down where the buttocks and feet press the floor. Feel those sensations, buttocks and feet the way the legs are bent. Feeling the hands and fingers where they touch together or touch the body. Feel the subtle sensations, hands or fingers. Feel the weight of the arms hanging from the shoulders. Feel where the clothing touches the skin of the shoulders, arms, chest. Might feel the movement of the breathing, stomach or chest. Moving up, feel the base of the neck. Inside the throat. Feel the tongue in the mouth. And the lips touching together. The upper lip touching the lower lip. Feel the sensations of dryness or moistness in the lip. And take a couple of deeper breaths. See if you can feel the air moving through the nostrils. Millions of times a day or thousands of times per day, air is silently moving in and out of the nostrils, bringing life force into the lungs, out to all the cells of the body. On the out breath, breathing out carbon dioxide, other impurities. Just kind of contemplate that for a few moments. You can also feel the heart beating, knowing that the heart beating is sending out that oxygenated blood out to the body. That's really the living process. Now let the awareness kind of settle back behind the eyes. Try to feel the outline of the whole body. Then take a few of the three-part breaths. Holding in the breath for several seconds. Feel that subtle energy of the oxygenating blood. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, letting go of the past and future. Breathing out, sitting here and now. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. We're going to count the breaths from 1 to 10. Again, try to develop a more continuous focus on the breathing. With the next expanding in breath, count 1. Contracting out breath, also 1. In breath 2. Out breath 2. In 3. Out 3. In 4. Out 4. In 5. Out 5. In 6. Out 6. In 7. Out 7, in 8, out 8, in 9, out 9, in 10, out 10. Now discontinue the counting. Let the breathing return to its uncontrolled, shorter, irregular rhythm. Continue to feel it, like with a telephoto lens zooming in. Feel the subtler movements of expanding and contracting, sensations of the clothing rubbing against the skin of the stomach, rib cage, or chest. Or if you like, you can also just follow the breathing process. The air enters the nostrils, goes into the lungs, to feel the lungs expanding. The lungs contract, the air going back out of the nostrils. You can follow that process. It also develops a close concentration. And just knowing when the breath is coming in and knowing when the breath is going out. Know it by feeling it, that alertness. Again, try to be aware of the 4 phases of each breath cycle. The incoming breath, the brief pause. The outgoing breath and the brief pause. During the brief pauses, remember that the body is sitting, feel the outline of the posture. This breathing process is occurring within that larger posture. In sitting, out, sitting. The ongoing, continuous connection. The present moment. This breathing body. Life for the baby begins with the first breath. Life ends with the last breath. Notice how each breath is different. Sometimes longer, sometimes shorter. The pauses between the breaths are longer or shorter. The body self-regulates itself depending on how much oxygen is needed. That's the natural wisdom. Also, pay specific attention to the beginning and end of each breath. The moment the in-breath starts, the moment it stops, the moment the out-breath starts, the moment it stops. But even while feeling the breathing process, you can notice other sensations coming and going around through awareness. Clothing touching the skin, body movement, prickling sensation, pulsation, maybe the heart beating. Those sensations also just arise and vanish. Just turn up the power of the mental microscope to notice subtler and more sensation arising and vanishing. When thoughts arise, see those as just thought bubbles arise, last a moment or two. If you don't cling to them, they vanish. The more physical sensations you can notice, the less time the mind will have to get lost in thought. Keeping that anchor to the breathing there in the center. In the periphery, sensations, sounds, thoughts arising and vanishing. Balancing mindfulness and concentration. Concentration is keeping the attention within the breathing body. Mindfulness is the alertness. Notice the different sensations arising and vanishing within that breathing body. The sounds going through the ears. Thoughts through the mind. Especially be alert when painful sensations pull at the mind. Observe those painful sensations as they well up. Be aware of the mental reaction. Just relax the body, relax the mind. Sensations just well up, vibrate a bit, vanish, change. Maintaining that connection to the subtle breathing. Acts as the anchor that holds the mind steady when pain arises. There's too many thoughts, the mind becomes a little drowsy. Go back and do some deep, slow breathing. Re-energize the bloodstream. Re-anchor the attention in the breathing body. It's cultivating that underlying understanding or wisdom. Everything you're feeling are essentially just vibration. Material body vibration, sound vibration, mental vibration. Visible vibration. You see some mental image. Arising and vanishing, arising and vanishing. All over the place. You can't choose, they randomly just arise and vanish. On the head, the feet, the arms, all points in between. Breathing is in the middle. Breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. The ongoing, continuous connection to the present moment awareness. If we lose that anchor, that connection to the breathing body, the present moment awareness, the mind gets easily pulled here and there, lost in the past or future, greed, hatred, deluded thoughts, worry, fear, anxiety, struggling. That subtle connection, the subtle vibrations of the breathing body acts as a life preserver, a lifeline, floating in the present moment. The impermanent world is constantly streaming through the senses, all the changing sensations, vibrations. Just beneath all of that change, mental chaos, confusion, pain, an ever-present parallel dimension of the now. The natural present moment awareness. Non-dual awareness. It's right there, literally just beneath your nose. Inviting you to come home. Like a bird coming back to sit in its nest. and what perceptions, mental images, thoughts arise based on that sound vibration. We're going to gradually transition from the sitting position to the standing position. First of all, just place your hands at the edge of the knees. And take a deep, slow breath. Stretch the head back, arch the spine. And lift the head up. On an out breath, press the chin to the top of the chest, stretch the neck vertebrae. Lift the chin up level on an in-breath. Relax on an out breath. And the reason I have you do that at the end of meditation is because when you sit for a long period of time, not moving around, staying focused, all the psychophysical energies kind of get withdrawn from the periphery and get centered inside, and that's what actually produces the concentration and awareness. Because normally we dissipate our energies by moving around, scratching, itching, looking, moving. So all that dissipates our energy. But when you sit still, all that energy withdraws from the periphery, and that's what becomes the concentration power. So when you come out of meditation, you should never come out quickly. So when you know that you're going to come out of meditation, the first thing is to take a couple of deep breaths, and then especially as you in the sitting, when you stretch the head back, it kind of compresses the energy down to the base of the spine, and when you lift the head back up, that energy comes back out and gets redistributed out, infused into the nervous system. That's just sort of the idea behind that. So anyway, so now just gradually unfold your legs. Be aware of the changing sensation. Stretch the legs out straight. Flex the toes. Help get that energy back out. And if you like, you can do the forward stretch. Raise the hands over the head. The out breath, touch the chest, reach forward, hold your toes. Feel those stretched sensations. And sit up. And draw your feet up to prepare for standing. Push yourself up into the squatting position. And on an in-breath, feel the muscles in the legs pushing the body up. Stand up straight. Deep, slow breaths. Breathing in, letting go of the past and the future. Breathing out, standing here and now. Start to feel the outline of the standing body. Breathing in, feeling the whole body. Breathing out, feeling the whole body. The standing meditation is no different from the sitting meditation. It's a different posture. Feeling the breathing in the center of the body. In the center of that outline, the standing body. Just being aware of the flow of impermanence, changing sensation. Even while you're feeling the breathing, you can notice sensations in your feet, legs, hands, arms, and head. As though you were looking into the center of a mirror. Sounds arise and float through that awareness. Itchy or painful feelings also are just vibrations floating through that awareness. Even bubbles of thought, if you don't cling to them or follow them, they just vanish. leaving the natural connection to the breathing body. It's the only thing that's constant and trustworthy, is that connection to the breathing body. While everything else within the body, coming from outside, changes randomly. But the body itself is always there, just beneath the nose. This body, mind, nervous system is like a spider web. And all the cells of the body are connected to that web of the nervous system. And all the different vibrations, sounds, thoughts, physical sensations are like insects flying into the web, vibrating the web, producing awareness. The spider is sitting out at the edge of the web. That's awareness. And just thoughts, so just impingements on the web, vibrating the web. awareness is simply the webcam. That knows what's vibrating the web. If at any time you feel faint when standing a long time, squat down to the floor till that passes off. Okay, now I'm going to do a session of walking again like we did yesterday. So move the cushions in a little bit to form a walking space. Spread out equidistant around the rectangle, the cushion. So this same awareness can be maintained while you're doing the walking. Instead of the breathing, the focus is on the movements of the feet, but at the same time, noticing all the other sensations coming and going around or through it. We can try to coordinate the steps with the breathing, the in-breath, lifting, swinging the foot forward, out-breath, pressing the floor, shifting the torso forward. And try to feel the moment the foot lifts off the ground and swings forward. That's the arising and vanishing of the step. And then the out breath, foot pressing the floor, body shifting forward, begins and stops. The next in breath begins, the foot lifts up, swings forward, stops. Out breath, heel presses the floor, body shifts forward, stops. When you get to the corner where you need to turn, come to a full stop. Be aware of that turning process. When you hear the double clap again, begin the walking again. Lifting, swinging, pressing, shifting forward, lifting, swinging, pressing, shifting forward, step by step, moment by moment. Sort of videotaping the body walking, turning, thinking. When you get back around near to where you were sitting, and mindfully go back to the seat. Just continue in the circle until you get around to the seat. And in the same way that you were doing the slow walking, try to arrange the cushion, the movement of your arms, bending, reaching in that same mindful way. See how quickly you can just go back into the sitting position without wondering what's going to happen. The mind should just naturally always just fall back on the body in the present moment. That's the skill in meditation, is how quickly one can find the body in the present moment. Turn on the webcam. Some breathing in, sitting. Breathing out, sitting. The present moment is always there, just beneath the nose. Even when you might be hearing sounds that seem to be lasting, they're actually always changing. Even while they're lasting, they're changing. Some sensations maybe appear to last a while, others arise and vanish so quickly. If anything disturbs the mind, ask yourself, who is disturbed? Or what is disturbed? Actually, disturbance are food for awareness and wisdom. In awareness practice, nothing is a disturbance. They're all just empty vibration. Our mind makes them a disturbance. By personalizing them. Stay awake, alert, turning up the power of the mental microscope to notice more and subtler vibrations, arising and vanishing, including the mental vibrations, urges, wanting, wanting to move, wanting to think. Conserve that energy, movement, and thinking. Add to the power of concentrated awareness. Sabbi sankhara anicchati yada panyaya pasati atanibindati dukhi isamago visuddhiya. All conditioned things, the five aggregates of this body, mind, and world are impermanent. They arise only to vanish. When one sees this with the eye of wisdom, one becomes disenchanted with suffering. This is the path to purity, to freedom. And thus spoke the Buddha. And take a deep breath, stretching the head back, arching the spine. And lifting the head up on an in-breath, the out-breath, pressing the chin to the top of the chest. In-breath, lifting the head up. Out-breath, relaxing. Okay, friends, so this, for those who are listening out on Zoom, brings our morning session to an end. And try to practice the mindfulness of eating if you're going to have lunch or some food, and also any of your other movements that you might be doing, but between now and 1:45, try to move mindfully, keep in touch, keep connected to the body. Just always remind yourself, what is this body doing now? It's walking, standing, bending, stretching, relieving oneself, any other thing. Clear comprehension of why we're doing that. It's part of living with awareness. So see you back at 1:45.